Hello, everybody. Hope you are doing well. I am Dr. Abdelhak, Senadjki from Faculty of Business and Finance, University Tunku Rahman, and today I'm going to present a keynote speech for the 27th International Conference on Teaching, Education and Learning that's supposed to be held on 23rd, 24th November in Kuala Lumpur, but due to the COVID-19, it will be held virtually. So the topic of interest today is COVID-19 and the future of education. Are we prepared, or the future of higher education? So before the COVID-19, usually we seldom learn about e-learning or the online teaching and learning. And the many universities have found that e-learning or distance learning is really not providing or is not providing a good quality of education. So they were not really interested in investing or providing this type of learning. So therefore the e-learning and distance learning were not recognized even by people, and this is due that this type of education lack credibility and the quality. This is the perception. But again, because of the technological progress and the development in education techniques and means and using technology, we start, accepting the e-learning and teaching, but to some very limited aspect or means. And society actually has started also to accepting and reassuring of remote teaching. We can see that many universities start in the late or in the previous 10 years started to have some distance learning. But although many universities have offered several these online training programs and study materials, actually they were reluctant to put their weight behind distance education and online learning and teaching, and thus they have really not offered any degree programs through distance education. But since change after the COVID-19 pandemic, and during the pandemic, where we start using this new method of teaching because not we want to do it or we like to do it, because we were forced to do it. So what are the scenario, or what the scenario would be after the COVID? Many experts think that universities will remain important, but because of the emerging of this new method of teaching, those universities may lose the prestige they held before the outbreak of the virus. And this is because universities means they may lose the control over the number of students who reach their seats, and especially those elite universities or high-ranking universities where the number of seats are really limited. So they may lose control over that. And also the influence of the universities on learning may be reduced tremendously. That universities' influence and control on the education system at all, it may be reduced. So here, distance learning and e-learning and the adoption of digital technologies may provide a better access to students to acquire knowledge and obtain related materials. So many students or so many people, they can't go to university due to many reasons, or most importantly due to the financial reasons. So the advancement and development of this online teaching and learning during and after the COVID-19 could also be significant threat to those universities financially, due to that number of students will reduce, and they feel maybe not that really attracted to this type of online teaching and learning and pay very high fees where they can find materials or relevant materials online for free or with a minimum fees. So many prestigious universities, also called the Eli University, started to think of launching some of their distance learning program in the future. Actually, in Malaysia, like Open University have already started that type of programs. And also University Science Malaysia, they have the distance learning. But there's other universities that start really to think about, providing these services in the future. So distance education, therefore, is not only the availability of the program and the internet, but also it includes a wide range of cultural, intellectual, and legal structure. It means that it's not that the issue of the availability of the materials or access to internet that make the online or distant education success, but it is how we going to make it success. What are the ways that can be done, and what are the methods that really we can teach to achieve the learning outcome, and what are the legal structures that these programs or these universities should develop. So, are we prepared for the online teaching and learning or blended learning? So, to answer this question, we have interviewed 21 lecturers in Malaysia who had experience both on online teaching, blended teaching, and traditional teaching, as also we have done 4 focus group discussion. These interviews were also online because of the lockdown in Malaysia, so we cannot really go face to face with those lecturers. So the respondent were specifically recruited using a purposive sampling. We have chosen, as I say, only those instructors that experience 3 types of of learning and teaching, which is online and traditional and blended. So all online interviews and online group discussion were conducted via audio recording, transcribed verbatim, translated, and subsequently analyzed theoretically. So the first question asked to what extent the new methods of online teaching and learning in higher education, OTL, or hybrid or blended would achieve the learning outcome. And surprisingly that most of them agrees that it is very hard and challenging to be achieved. So the first group found it that the learning outcome is challenging but can be achieved, where when educators need to vary the style of teaching as there are many obstacles compared to the normal physical classes. And if the internet accessible and in some courses can be achieved but others cannot, like science courses and clinical courses. And also agreed that the learning outcome can be achieved but only in the courses that have a theoretical syllabus, but those who have practical syllabus cannot be achieved. And also they found that e-learning allows students to have a closer communication with teacher via online. Example, student can ask questions via WhatsApp, via a group or personal communication, Microsoft Teams, Zooms, and that could be, a given advantage for that. But also they argued that can be achieved but only if both parties, means lecturers and students, play their role. Lecturers play their roles in designing effective materials and effective methods of delivery to engage students. And the role of students means that students have the motivation and really do their best, to communicate with the lecturers and instructor and with their peers and pay attention to lectures and do homework. Also, they argued that also can be achieved only if online teaching and learning will overcome traditional geographical limitation uh, because so many students, due to their uh, what we say, they live in very remote areas, and the geographical uh, limitation here is there. But when it comes to the online teaching and learning, we would demolish it, or reduce it. But again, that also depends on the accessibility of the internet. The other side of the instructors or lecturers, they found it that it is hard, extremely hard, or even cannot be achieved at all. And because they said is society norms and cultural issues where many things could come only with direct interaction, like social skills, like soft skills, that it must be a direct interactions. Students are not really serious with online learning, that they experience what they found, where lecturers they providing a lecture, but student they are doing something else. I myself, I experienced that when I call. Usually I try to make student interacted and 100% focus on the class. So most of the time I called randomly students, but they were not there. So it is also, they say, difficult to prevent students from cheating in online tests, and that would be also, a very, very serious to the education system. And again, because of technology accessibility, where we have so many students, they have access to internet, but internet is very bad and the quality is not that good, and they cannot even hear what this lecturer is saying. And also depend also on lecture capability of designing online courses and the ability to use the technology. Otherwise, especially for old generation lecturers, where they may not really have that ability to use the technology. Then the second question, which method provide a better education quality, traditional method or online teaching and learning, or hybrid? So also again, those experienced lecturers, they found that most of the time traditional method, because they say traditional method provide a better educational quality as educator can interact with student and get their instant reaction from what they have understood during the class. And also, it allows first-hand experience of acquiring the knowledge, especially for courses that involve hard skill. So, in their opinion, that OTL could not really provide that quality of education. And also, they argue that traditional methods also motivate students to attend the class rather than the online method, because online method there's so many ways, you just on your computer and you go and do other things and you're not there. So many distractive things that may distract student from listening to the class. So there are also in traditional method, lecturers can read student faces, give immediate feedback and also a student can focus better on the class. And they argue also face-to-face method have more provide a better quality of education, and lecturers do not really feel exhausted and burn out. Thus, they produce a better teaching quality. But compared to this traditional method, if we go to a hybrid method, it still can be. But most of them, they say a pure online teaching and learning is not acceptable at all, and so that they don't want even uh, you know uh, to accept the idea of 100% online teaching and learning. So that I don't put it here. So I put this to mean. So in the hybrid method. So for the hybrid method, they argue that things can be done, but it is not about the medium or a mix of media. It's about how well the learning is designed. Otherwise, it will not help. So they say hybrid cannot be used 100% as what we say um, an alternative to traditional method, but can be or can complement traditional method. And also they argue that hybrid system would be more effective by covering theory part by online and technical using physical one. And also they think that hybrid method improve communication, better connection between lecturers and student via WhatsApp, and also guide student into a different dimension. Student also, they argue, will be more engaged and understand the concept learned in a better ways. So we can see from these lecturers actually they agreed traditional method is still useful, and also but if you use hybrid method also can be also both of them are okay, but using 100% online teaching and learning is not acceptable at all. So the third question we ask, does the new method of online teaching and learning provide a better learning experience to students compared to physical classes? So some of the instructors, they found it not at all, and they argued that OTL or hybrid learning doesn't really provide a better learning experience, but it can only complement physical classes. So the physical interaction is one of the most important components of learning from each other. This is what the argument of the lecturers. They say that there are many situations where the human touch is invaluable and irreplaceable. So whatever you design, what method you design these online courses on or syllabus, but it is not that really can replace the physical, because the human touch, it must be there. They also argue that learning environment and teamwork would be difficult to be addressed, and which is correct. So when we talk about online learning, there is no teamwork at all, we can say. And this is learning environment is absent. And also they argue that there are more sources of disturbance due to an open access to resources like family related matters and internet connectivity. And actually some of my students also, they told me about that, where you are delivering the lecture class, they are doing something else. They are watching YouTube, they are checking their Facebook, family calling them, and this is all disrupt their understanding. But some of them, they say yes, OTL and hybrid could provide a better learning experience, but only, they say, if the student is ready and willing to be empowered. I mean that really students, they need to do their best to be really disciplined and motivated. And also, they argue it may provide a better learning experience in terms of flexibility, where students can record the online meeting or rewatch it, and interactivity of the class, or like online games using Kahoot or using other softwares. So that make maybe the class more lively and interesting. And they argue also the hybrid learning enhances personal touch, in which teacher can teach student according to each student pace and learning style, because since those courses are recorded, so those who are very slow in understanding, or the speed of understanding is very slow for them, they can again rewatch the video and understand. Also, personal communication create a more comfortable environment for both slow runners and sprinters, and provides students with a better learning experience, as they will learn to explore the concept and understand it much better ways. It means that when we use hybrid or online teaching and learning. So you can see it depends on how I think the lecturers is successful in designing a very significant and very useful resources that student can really use, and students are really attracted to use those materials. But for those who find it very hard to design this type of syllabus or these types of courses, where students, they feel bored, or they feel like it's something like not really interests them, so they may not really focusing on these online materials, and there the learning experience will be very bad for them. So question number 4, it says, does the new method of online teaching and learning, OTL or hybrid, increase the risk of learning loss? So what about the learning loss? So most of lecturers, yes, they agree with that, and they say that there are many times where educators or students may face barriers during the online communication, such as breaking internet connection. That's one of the most difficult part that we are facing, especially here in Malaysia. Students may miss the important point that has been lectured during the class, or even if the educators were to repeat again, it may somehow irritate other students who have a good internet connection, and this can demotivate them to continuously be focused during the class, and this is just one of the examples of the barrier. So once this internet interruption, you know, frequently, appears, so people they become like really stressful and demotivated, and that's one of big issue. Also, students may miss the physical interaction and learning from each other, plus the level of concentration and learning observation that is very less when we use OTL compared to traditional. Also, a student may not pay full attention to the lecturers, and lecturers also cannot fully monitor the students, especially those who are playful and not independent. And also, online teaching and learning will deprive both students as well as their guide the advantage of deciphering the non-verbal communication, warmth, free flow, natural exchanges. And also, it will increase education dropout due to economic constraint getting by students from poor families. So this is all contributed to this risk of learning loss. So adopting online teaching and learning per se without mixing it with traditional physical classes is a major risk or disadvantage also to students and lecturers. That's what we can conclude from that. But again, some of lecturers they think that no, it may not have the risk of learning loss or increase it, because they say still student can always contact lecturers and ask for clarification if they don't understand, or even if there is interruption and they are interrupted, they can still contact them via WhatsApp, Facebook, or what other online platforms. And they argue that it would also increase the learning just from a different perspective. So this is another way that we need to explore this the argument. Those they are pro OTL and hybrid. And they think that OTL better for students since the lecturers can record the lecture video and student able to view it in several times based on the student needs or level of understanding. So they keep watching and rewatching until they understand, which is that is advantage. So others they agree that OTL has a potential to penetrate new international market that was not explored in large scale previously. So now instead of people need to travel, let's say to UK to get education from Harvard, they can do it online. He studied in Harvard, but he's in his hometown. Teaching and learning process don't really depend on the platform. This is what they argue. Whatever it is, the platform is physical or online, it does not matter. But they say it is just one of the many factors in the successful delivery of the learning. How we deliver our lectures is the most important. How we design our syllabus and courses is the most important. This is what they argue. To some extent, is yes. Then the fifth question is how COVID-19 has changed the pedagogy in teaching, and can this new pedagogy be sustained in the future? Again, lecturers they come to in two different opinions. The first they say changes in pedagogy, yes, could increase student participation during the class by conducting various activities like using Kahoot or other online games. And they say also the OTL also can increase creativity and innovation in class to engage students. It is about good pedagogies, best practices. So it does not matter that if you do it in traditional or on online. And also they argue that lecturers are pushed to find another ways of teaching and learning, which is that one of the advantage and opportunities for lecturers also to develop these skills. So now most of lecturers they can or use or they have an experience and they have skills of conducting lecture online. Also, they argue that lectures provide more online materials to students, plus make themselves familiar with new online teaching and learning tools. And the syllabus and materials are designed to be self-taught for students, and therefore it is depend on students on how they are willing to engage in that or no. It's not per se on the pedagogy. So they also argue that gaming approach is a game changer because, especially nowadays, new generation they like this online game so much. So this is another way of how we teach them. We teach them in the way that they love. So we provide them online gaming, which really applicable for the syllabus and can achieve the learning outcome. But the most difficult the part is that this gaming or online gaming approach is really difficult to design. And the others, they say, sustainability of the new pedagogy, yes, they say could be. And this is due to the fast changes in Internet of Things. The approach can be sustained, but both students and lecturers must catch up with the fast evolution. So the job for student plus the lecturer must be there. And they say also this new pedagogy can be sustained only if the internet connection is improved and can be sustained if syllabus and materials are simplified. If you have a very complicated materials or syllabus, then this method cannot be sustained because students may find it very difficult to understand even the materials, and that physical interaction is not there, so there is no way for them to advance. And also some of them, they say, depend on society readiness and the players such as educators, students, and government. They say facilities and infrastructure should be provided to rural and disadvantaged area, otherwise it cannot be sustained. And also online teaching and learning method alone can be sustained only if it does not cover practical courses. So when we have courses that really need a practical, that need a lab, that it is impossible and cannot be sustained. So we need to go back to the traditional classes. As a conclusion, we say that yes, OTL offers many advantages to education. But also there are so many shortcomings and consequences of pursuing this OTL by itself only. So this is because OTL and distance education has not been a good alternative to traditional education in terms of achieving learning outcome and the development of student soft skills and social skills. So when we talk about development of student skills, we are not talking only about cognitive skills. We have affective skills, we have psycho skills, we have social skills, we have soft skills. There are a lot of skills that really need interaction and teamwork, and especially the teamwork. So if we go 100% on online teaching and learning, all these soft skills like social skills or teamwork, students will not that really get it. And therefore, returning to traditional education as soon as possible is a must, but we still can do a blended. I mean that we go for traditional teaching, but also we complement other skills like digital skills, like this, online skills by using an online teaching. So it will be, online teaching will be there, but as a complement to traditional, but not as a what we call an alternative or a substitute to traditional one. Otherwise, our quality of education will be in question, and even the degrees we provide will be in question.